What if everything you knew was wrong? The history you were taught, the science you were told to trust, the politics you see unfolding, the psychology that shapes your mind, even the theology that guides your soul. What if none of it is as simple as it seems? Every great story has secrets. Every fact has shadows. And every truth has another side waiting to be uncovered. Here, nothing is sacred. Nothing is off-limit. We dive into conspiracies, hidden histories, and unanswered questions that most people are too afraid to ask. I'll present the theory. You will decide. Argue it, break it, expand it, or prove it wrong. Because theories don't live in silence. They thrive in debate. Welcome to Let's Theorize.
Let's theorize. Were the first humans white? Ladies and gentlemen, gather close, because we're about to rip through the fabric of history, science, and faith, like a parent forging their kids into relentless truth seekers. I'm diving into Let's Theorize, and this one's a firestorm. The theory, were the first people albino? Not just bold, it's a seismic gut punch to everything you've been fed. I'm delivering 10 ironclad arguments, each crackling with evidence, logic, and purpose. And we're calling out the blackwashing of history, unscientific, nonsensical, and dripping with agenda. Every point hits like a thunderbolt, exposing the motives behind rewriting our past. Buckle up, this is a journey to the roots of who we are. Argument 1, the albino gene runs through every race. Picture this, a genetic thread so ancient it weaves through every human. Black, white, Asian, indigenous. Albinism, from recessive mutations in genes like TYR or OCA2, isn't some rare quirk, it's universal. From the heart of Africa to the steppes of Asia, these genes lurk, ready to surface. This isn't chance. It's proof early humans carried these recessive traits as the default, before darker pigmentation muscled in. Blackwashing history, pushing a dark-skinned origin, spits in the face of this genetic truth. Pretending diversity was always the norm. Why? To bury a lighter-skinned past. Maybe to reshape narratives and sideline certain heritages for control. Argument 2, Noah's albino-like glow in ancient texts. Now let's dive into the ancient scrolls. The Book of Enoch paints Noah with skin white as snow, hair like wool, eyes blazing like the sun. Textbook albinism. His father, Lamech, thought he was an angel's kid. So striking was his look. As a post-flood patriarch, Noah's appearance screams albinism was no anomaly, it was the norm. Blackwashing these texts, recasting Noah as dark-skinned, is a baseless rewrite, ignoring clear descriptions. Why? To dim the light of a pale origin, pushing a narrative that sidelines certain histories for others. Argument 3, a white canvas transformed at the Tower of Babel. Imagine humanity as a blank canvas, pure, unpigmented, albino. Skin colors polygenic, but starting with zero melanin makes sense. Darker hues were added later, like strokes of divine paint. The Tower of Babel wasn't just a linguistic breakup, it was a genetic revolution, scattering dominant melanin genes across the globe. You can't derive light skin from dark without recessive genes. Dominating first, it's biologically simpler to start pale and add color. Blackwashing claims we began dark, but that's genetic nonsense. The flow runs light to dark. The motive? To rewrite history, aligning it with modern agendas, erasing a pale origin to fit ideological molds. Argument 4. Recessive genes as humanity's hidden code. Every one of us carries the potential for albinism. Recessive. Genes like TYR and OCA2, waiting for both parents to pass them on. This isn't a coincidence. It's a clue early humans were dominated by these recessive traits. Before darker alleles took the stage, blackwashing claims a dark-skinned start. But that defies genetics. Recessive. Traits can't dominate unless they were the original blueprint. The agenda? To erase the genetic echo of a lighter origin, pushing a dark-skinned narrative for cultural or political leverage. Argument 5. Aging reveals our albino roots. Look at your elders, skin fading, hair turning white as snow. Aging strips away melanocytes, 10 to 20% per decade after 30, pulling us toward a pale albino-like state. It's as if the body yearns to return to its factory settings, unpigmented, pure. Blackwashing insists we started dark, but this universal fade screams otherwise. Pigmentation's a layer, not the core. Why rewrite this biological truth? To sell a narrative that fits today's politics, burying the shared light-skinned origin aging reveals. Argument 6. Dominant genes rewrite the script. Genetics is a battlefield. Dominant melanin genes crush recessive albino ones. If early humans were albino, Babel's injection of dominant dark alleles flipped the script, creating darker populations. Blackwashing claims dark skin came first. But that's genetically absurd. Recessives need to rule early to explain their persistence. The motive? To cast light-skinned origins as a myth, maybe to fuel a cultural shift that reshapes history's winners and losers. Argument 7. History's light-to-dark trend. Ancient populations leaned lighter, darkening through migration and mixing over millennia. While mainstream science pushes a dark-skinned origin, genetic and textual evidence points to lighter roots, with Babel as the diversification spark. Blackwashing this trend, insisting on a dark start, ignores the archaeological and genetic trail. Why? To erase a light-skinned past? Perhaps to align with identity politics or diminish certain cultural legacies. Argument 8. Priests and the ideal of unblemished skin. In the Old Testament, priests had to be blemish-free, possibly tied to pure, unpigmented skin. If albinism was humanity's original state, later pigmentation could have been seen as a flaw. Blackwashing this as a dark-skinned ideal lacks any textual footing. It's a fabrication. Why? To obscure a light-skinned spiritual archetype, pushing a revisionist narrative to fit modern trends. Argument 9. White painted figures echo our origins. Across the globe, Japanese geishas, Western clowns, tribal shamans, cultures paint faces white, symbolizing purity, divinity, or origins. This isn't random. It's a collective memory of an albino archetype preserved post-Babel. Blackwashing ignores these symbols, claiming darker origins without cultural evidence. Why? To suppress a shared memory of light-skinned roots, elevating one group's narrative over others. Argument 10. Ancient bones tell a pale story. Archaeology doesn't lie. Light-skinned remains, from Kennewick man to early African and Asian skeletons, dot the globe. You can't build today's diverse populations without a light-skinned base. Blackwashing these finds, recasting ancient figures as dark-skinned in movies and media, defies the bones. It's deliberate, unscientific, and absurd, swapping white historical figures for darker ones. Why? To erase light-skinned contributions, driven by ideology, division, power, or controlling the past to shape the present. In closing, this albino origin theory isn't just plausible, it's a fortress built on genetics, texts, and archaeology. Blackwashing history? It's a flimsy, unscientific scam, twisting evidence to fit agendas, division, control, or rewriting who owns humanity's story. Like a parent drilling their kids, I challenge you. Hunt the truth, reject the lies. Who's ready to rise and fight for it? Hit that subscribe button and let's keep digging.